to live stream, and I'm going to begin to record as well. All right. So we are now recording. So today we are so lucky to be here with Karen Thurston, and this coffee and chat is 2+ abortions, sharing truth, spreading love, stopping stigma. And we're going to be learning about a storytelling project that Karen has created that is about seeking, to provide support and community for people who've had or will have more than one abortion in their lifetime, which is a large number of folks who have abortions. And Karen also seeks to educate and advocate about the ways that we can honor and care for people who are suffering extreme stigma around their abortion experiences. And I'm just going to say a little bit about Karen, who happens to be a friend and a fellow advocate on the All Options Talk Line. But Karen is also a retired elementary school teacher's assistant from Georgia, who lived in fear, silence, and inner isolation for decades after 2 teen abortions. She is passionately devoted to doing anything and everything possible to prevent others from having that kind of experience. Karen's also a mother and a grandmother and many, many other things. And so I'm going to hand it off to Karen, and I just want to, remind folks that, as always, at GER, we strive to create spaces where curiosity is welcome and learning is encouraged, while also treating everyone present with kindness and some tenderness. So we can always assume that there are people with us right now in this room who have had a wide range of sexual and reproductive experiences across our lifespans. And so it's always good to ask everyone to consider how we want folks who have lived these things to feel when they hear us ask questions or discuss the topics at hand. So let's just hold that in our center as we go into this conversation. And I am going to hand it off to Karen. She's going to share with us, and then we'll have time for questions and discussion.
Hi, everybody. And thank you for that beautiful introduction and the call for kindness and compassion. I love that. And I just want to say again, my name is Karen Thurston, and my pronouns are she and her. And I am now on Kumeyaay land in San Diego, California, but originally from Georgia. Came here to be near my grandkids. And I want to tell you about this project that is called 2+ Abortions Worldwide. And thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here, and I appreciate it. Let's see, so now if I can get this to move. It's not moving. Okay, there it goes. You can tell I'm new at this. So here's just a little project overview of, of what this is. It started with a Twitter account called Abobo Bravado, and I launched that in January of 2019. And I was just screenshotting stories of people who'd had more than one abortion. And I wanted to just share more of those because I didn't see many. And then I launched the website in February, just about a month later. And it basically is to archive stories that I find online or that people send to me. So far, in 2 years, we've had 31,000 unique visitors. And right now I'm averaging about 80 visitors a day. And they're coming from more than 130 countries around the world. And the most popular page on the project is our stories, which is simply the narratives that people are sharing their truth. And then a more recent addition to the project called Our Stories of Twins, which is people who have ended pregnancies of twins and need support for that. So that's kind of a brief overview. And just a little more background. So I was looking for an image that might kind of convey what stigma felt like for me. And so, I got pregnant on my first sexual encounter, which was not very good at all. I didn't understand what was happening. I was 13. And then low self-esteem. I had another abortion when I was 19. And for all the years since then, really, I just felt separated from everyone. I just felt like every relationship was maybe not real. I just always wondered, like, what would people still care about me if they knew this about me? So anyway, I lived with stigma and it affected me a lot. I know it doesn't always affect a lot of people, but it hurt me. So when I was able to come out, I actually, held my story in until, I was in my 40s, and I told one friend, and that kind of led me on a process of sharing. And then in 2013, I had the courage to share the truth with my two grown sons. And I was terrified, that they would, was terrified my own children would feel differently about me. But they didn't, and they've been so supportive. And so as soon as I was released from my secret with the people I most cared about, and I knew that I was secure in their love, I wanted to do everything that I could to, help anybody else who felt the way I did. So ever since 2013, I've been doing everything I can to help fight the stigma and help people feel better. Done that in a variety of ways. This is my most recent way. And so I just want to share that every day I reevaluate my true north, or I reaffirm it. And my true north, my true goal is I just really want to help people feel better. And so the way I do that is I try to focus on love, and I focus on learning and growing. I try to do at least one thing every day to challenge stigma. It might just be a little thing like posting something on social media. It might be a big thing like, connecting with people. But anyway, so that's my true north. And when I first entered the abortion space, I had this expectation that it was going to be all love. Everybody, it was just going to be a beautiful space. I found my people. But the reality was I kind of felt isolated still, because I never heard anyone talking about abortion in the plural. I only heard an abortion. So it felt really scary and awful to even say in abortion spaces that I had had more than one. And in fact, I saw on Twitter feminists posting things like this. One self-described feminist, treated multiple abortions will end stigma. Are you crazy? I can see one mistake, but more than one abortion is just careless and shows a stupidity beyond measure. Multiple abortions show you are a moron. And then I joined this stigma fighting group called Inroads, a global group, and I put out a question into the listserv. How do you feel about people who have more than one abortion? And I got responses like this. And in my opinion, a woman who has had a second abortion is careless, ignorant. And anyway, these are very hurtful things in the abortion space. So I've always, because everything feels harsh to me, I just want to be more gentle, with people. So I'm kind of calling this talk How to Be Gentle with People and Fight Abortion Stigma at the Same Time. And although there's so many aspects of my projects and I want to talk about, I've decided to focus on these simple things because they're actually things that you can do and you can help with. So anyway, 6 simple suggestions. And first, why we should be gentle with people. You may have seen an image like this on social media. I've seen it in many iterations, but basically the truth is we just don't know about other people's lives. We don't know what it's like to be them. And especially for us who are older, we can know and assume that the losses have piled up in our lives and everybody is hurting for something. So although this is a abortion stigma, talk and project, I really feel like we could spend a lot of time on just the foundation that you need to fight stigma. And that is, we have to choose humility. And when we do that, it leads to curiosity, and that leads to learning, and that leads to understanding, empathy, and compassion. It's a whole process. But it does start with an intention to say to yourself, I'm a judgy human. We're all judgy. We all do that. It's part of the human condition. But I'm going to make an intention to detach from my judgments and just have open-hearted compassion. And I think when you do that, you're able to feel love. It feels great. And I like this image of the word love because of the shadow. And I feel like whenever we take this stance of open-hearted love and compassion, it spreads. And we don't always see how it helps people, but we can trust that it does. So 6 simple steps. 1, just learn more about how hard it is to prevent pregnancies over a long lifetime of fertility. And understand that when people are pregnant but don't want to be pregnant, abortions are birth control. I know that's a radical thing, because one of the talking points is, well, I support abortion, but I don't like it when people use it as birth control. And also, I just want to share that, like, this has been learning for me as well. So I never fully understood that other people also have trouble preventing pregnancy. And when I started learning more from researchers and all the networks, all the people that came before me, like all of you out there, all the work that you've been doing, I've benefited from that. And this is one thing that I've learned, that 30 years is a long time. It's a gender, sex-based burden. And anyway, it's hard. So I try to share for people to have the understanding that these are some of the things that make it complicated. So contraceptives fail. They fail for a lot of people. Some people can't afford contraceptives. Some people's bodies don't tolerate them. We all experience disruptive life events that are going to interfere with our use. Like maybe we're sick and we can't get to the store. Contraceptive sabotage, people are raped, anyway, all these things. So I just try to educate people that it's complicated. Number 2, don't say reduce abortions. Instead, say reduce accidental pregnancies. And you may have heard this, but I'm really disheartened that the argument for reducing abortions is very accepted in the liberal pro-choice community. And I do understand it, but we need to think more deeply about the language. And really, when you say we need to reduce abortions, you're saying abortions are bad. That's what it means. If you're advocating for reducing abortions, you're advocating for increasing the brutality of judgment, shame, and silence for a smaller number of people. So even if you do reduce accidental pregnancies and abortions, people are always going to need them. And we don't want them to hurt. We don't want them to be shamed or judged. So, yeah. Number 3 is don't say repeat abortions. Now, we inherited repeat abortions from well-meaning people, researchers, studying why do people have more than one abortion. And it just got baked into the language of researchers. But I ask people to think about the fact that we don't talk about repeating any other reproductive experience. So we never say, hey, I had a repeat pregnancy, or I had a repeat birth. So the goal is to have abortions treated as they deserve, which is on the spectrum of all reproductive options, and respected that each is a unique experience occurring at unique times in unique contexts. So if you spend time with the stories on the 2+ Abortions website, this really comes home to you that an abortion at age 15 will be different than an abortion at age 25. It's just our lives are different at different stages. And I feel like should I stop to see if anybody has any questions, or am I going too fast?
I think you're going at a great pace, but maybe we can pause for a second to see if anyone needs us to move slower or has
Yeah,
a big
I'm a little
question.
nervous, so I don't want to.
You're doing great. It seems like you can keep going, Karen.
Okay, I'll keep going. Okay, and number 4 of the 6 things that you can do is to say that I am pro-choice, and stop there, and don't give any exceptions and no other opinions. Just the other day, I read an article, a feminist article, that was supportive of abortions. And this author or reporter just put in this article, like, I would never have one myself, but we need to support people who do. And so this is very hurtful to people who've had abortions. It feels like a slap in the face. Um, and so we ask people, if you really do support the human right for people to control their bodies and their pregnancies, if they're not willing to be pregnant, then just say you're pro-choice. And so here's a social media meme that I made to try to get people to think about this. So it's a little coffee shop, but it's called a stigma shop. How do you like your abortion stigma served? Oh, this is regular abortion stigma. It's boldly malicious, brewed with lies and stereotypes and shame, a strong blend of self-righteousness and sanctimony without a trace of humility. And so what people who are against abortion say is like, we think abortions are bad and we shame people who have them and provide them, and we work hard to criminalize them. How about slightly sweetened pro-choice abortion stigma? It's not so splendid. It's got all the self-righteousness and stereotypes of regular abortion stigma, but without the bitter malice and legal barriers. And so this kind of attitude is, we think abortions are bad, so we always say we would never have one, but others can. And this is a huge problem, I think, in pro-choice spaces. And again, it feels like a slap. So here we have a person saying, personally, I would never have an abortion, but I'm pro-choice for others. And then the person who's had an abortion says, thanks for the support, not. And I do want to throw in right here, oh my goodness, after reading and listening to and hearing so many people's stories of abortions, oh, it's almost like 99.9% always say, like, I never thought I would have an abortion. Nobody does, really. They don't plan on it. It's not on anybody's bucket list. And the same actual phenomenon happens after people have an abortion. Then they say, I'll never have another abortion. And I always just want to reach out and just hug them and say, but you might need one another day. Number 5 is avoid saying multiple abortions and say more than one abortion instead. Now, I know this is never going to really happen like all over the place, and it's quicker and easier to say multiple abortions, but there's a couple of good reasons why that can be harmful. And so I just ask that people try to mix it up, even though saying more than one abortion is very clunky. It's a lot of extra words. But if you Google multiple dogs, this is the image you get. If you Google images for multiple apples or multiple birds, you get a lot. And I'm not saying a lot of abortions are bad if you need them, but I think it's just a way where people can misunderstand. And some of the synonyms are lots of, many, numerous, several. And ideally, we treat abortions like we treat the other reproductive outcomes. And so, we say, oh, I have 3 kids. We don't normally introduce ourselves to someone and say, hi, I'm Karen, I've had multiple children. We're more specific, and that's more respectful. And I do dream of a day when we can be more specific about our reproductive experiences. Another downside of multiple abortions is it kind of pushes people into a binary that's really, it's just not helpful. So the sense in abortion spaces or in the public as well, okay, well, and even people, who've had an abortion, they feel like, okay, I've had an abortion and that's my one, free pass or whatever, and that's all I can have, and nobody else would have more than one. It's a sad binary. So we just try to avoid it by avoiding that language. And then number 6 is simply use the plural abortions more often. And I've been so heartened and encouraged by how the abortion community in abortion spaces, the abortion funds and clinics have really been willing to take this up and I've seen so many more people mixing it up and using the plural abortions more often. So when I first started advocating for this, I was like, it'll make us who've had more than one feel more included. But then I had discovered, or I had the sense that that wasn't enough of a reason for people to really start using it. So I brainstormed for a long time, trying to think of ways to spread this idea that it really makes really good sense on a lot of different levels to spell abortions with an S. And so I tried to share that with this Yes to the S meme, which is kind of a play on Yes to the Dress TV show, I think it was. 6 sensational reasons to spell abortions with an S. Well, first of all, millions of abortions take place around the world each year, and that's a collective plurality. Millions of people have 2 or more abortions in their lifetimes, and that's an individual plurality. Abortions are provided in several different ways, and that's a medical plurality. And people's experiences of abortions are as varied as the people themselves. And so that's a plurality of realities. People's feelings about abortions are as varied as the people themselves. So that's a plurality of emotions. And finally, if people only see and hear the singular "an abortion," they get the wrong idea that abortions are monolithic, one-dimensional, and the same for everyone. And again, that only one is acceptable. So I ask people to start mixing up their language, and instead of saying abortion is healthcare, say abortions are healthcare. Lots of people have abortions. Safe abortions are a human right. Abortions are act of love. People are shouting their abortions, and we respect people who have abortions. So I just want to say right here, be kind of vulnerable and admit that when I first started advocating for ending stigma, I had a really hard time saying the word abortions. And so this is a huge part of my own personal growth in the abortion space. And I really want to shout out thanks to all the people who had patience for my growth in this space. And I feel like I'm still a work in progress. And if up to now or at any point I say anything that sounds wrong or offensive or hurtful, just tell me so that I can learn and grow. Another aspect of my advocacy is just trying to have more transparency about the trouble with contraception. So one thing that I learned by spending time with all the stories of people who've had more than one abortion is that contraceptive failure is a huge part of it. So I had this meme recently, and it says, there's a place where contraceptives work perfectly and where people use them perfectly for 3 decades of fertility amid all the uncontrollable hardships of life. It's right in here. So, it's a fantasy that people are perfect, because in the real world, all contraceptive methods fail. Nobody's perfect. All people experience life events out of their control that will interfere with perfect use, and abortions will always be needed. And so there's another binary with contraception, and it comes again from well-meaning researchers, and they use the terminology typical use and perfect use. And so I'm advocating that we don't use that language anymore, simply because perfect use is not a thing in this world. So it doesn't help us to know that if a robot used this contraceptive perfectly, that it would work, so many times. We just need to get rid of that language. And I hope that contraceptive makers, marketers, and counselors, and can all be more transparent about failures. Often, contraceptives are marketed with these great percentage points, and people have this idea that, wow, this is so effective, I won't get pregnant. But I think there's more failures than we realize. And so for that reason, I think contraceptive makers and advertisers and counselors should always include with their marketing and counseling that, this might fail. And if it does, and you get pregnant, abortions are also birth control. Also, I just think contraceptive makers should start caring more about the people who are failed. It's millions. It's more than 1 million people every year. And donate a portion of their profits to abortion funds to help those people who got pregnant when they were taking contraceptives. And then here's a way I try to get people to think about that. When you board an airplane, the flight attendants tell you if something goes wrong, here's what you do. And I think contraceptive marketing should include that as well. So exit safely through the abortions if these don't work for you. And then I just want people to understand that abortions are birth control. This picture breaks my heart because it also shows kind of how I felt all my life with the world. But I would love to see abortions accepted as birth control. And I think we should use that terminology. They are birth control for when people are pregnant. And this is just another meme. We hope all of you out there who've had accidental pregnancies and abortions have learned your lesson. Your lesson. You are wise, responsible, and resilient human beings, and we love you unconditionally. So that kind of concludes that part of the presentation, but I also wanted to share about a sister project. And actually, I've really meant to change that to something not gendered, a companion project. But through my experience of learning about stigma and abortion and advocacy, I've learned that people who have abortions suffer from hurtful stigma, and people who provide abortions suffer from the stigma. So, and in many ways, it's worse for abortion providers because they're like literally under specific threat to their very lives. And so I really want to just learn and grow and try to do something to help abortion providers feel better and feel loved, and spread love for them, and try to help others see that abortion providers are truly like the most amazing humanitarians on the planet. They literally risk everything to care for people. And I personally feel bad that when I was young in my teens and had abortion experiences, that I was too messed up to even think to thank anybody. I was just, I just was so grateful to get the care, and I didn't thank people like I should have. So part of my life goal is to spend the rest of my life trying to thank abortion providers. And that project is sharing stories as well, and thank you letters. So if you love abortion providers too and want to share a thank you letter, you can just email to me, and I'll post it on the website. And so it's a Twitter and Instagram account and a website very similar to the 2+ project, just aggregating information and trying to share it. And I do want to share one final thing, that I haven't accomplished anything that others haven't already accomplished. So what I'm trying to say is everything I've done is thanks to other people who have done amazing things. The stories that I aggregate, many of them come from beautiful platforms like We Testify, Shout Your Abortion, Women on Web. They come from clinics sharing. And so I'm not doing anything really original or super creative. I'm just trying to make information in one place so that people suffering a particular kind of stigma can find it and feel less alone. So I want to shout out love to all the storytelling platforms and all the storytellers out there who have shared their story. And this is one reason why my projects are not monetized. I don't sell ads or merchandise. I don't want to compete with any of these other projects, and I always amplify them and provide direct links to them as well. So that kind of concludes everything, I guess. I don't even know how much time went by. I hope it.
Well, we have 25 minutes, a little more than that left. So, um, Karen, if you want to stop sharing your screen, we can probably then all see one another on gallery view.
Okay.
Um, I think, and we can start sort of with questions, but I just want to start by thanking you, Karen, for um, not only sharing your personal story and experience with us, but giving us such concrete ways to eliminate this stigma. So I just want to start by thanking you. And now, if folks have a question, you can try to raise your human hand or press the raise hand button. And if I see you, I will call you out. But feel free to unmute and share comments or questions with Karen.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pam.
Okay. First, Karen, thank you so much for enlightening me. You know, I hadn't given it a lot of thought in my life. I had an abortion and everything ran pretty smoothly after that, except for getting pregnant after tubal ligation. I mean, that's pretty radical, and it ruptured, and yeah, I could have died and all that. So at the time I thought, okay, that's fair. I got the first one, this one's gonna get me. And sorry, that's just what I was thinking at the time. But you brought up such good points, and I see the problem. I thank you so much for just the education, because I needed that. I really did. I I just hadn't given it a lot of thought, and I had gone, "Meh," you know, but I see. I really see. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna cry. That's like a dream come
Too.
true. That if anything I said like was something different, I kind of worry about talking to people in these spaces because I'm fairly new to advocacy. It's just been since 2013, and I always assume everybody already knows everything, and I don't want to repeat. But thank you. That makes me feel really
Now
great.
you
Thank
bring
you.
up excellent points.
Thank you, Pam. I see Susan raising your digital hand. Do you want to go ahead, Susan?
I too echo what Pam had to say. This was a wonderful presentation, and I think it was you, Kate, who put in the comment about the graphics. You know, you've imbued this with love, humanity, just understanding. I do have a question. You use the expression accidental pregnancy, and I'm wondering if it seems like everything you did was with such care. And I'm wondering why you might have chosen that over, um, now I forget the word I was thinking of, unplanned or unintended, the unintended, because the connotation, and all these words, of course, have connotations that are different. That's the definition of connotation, what it means to somebody. But accidental implies to me that perhaps it could have been prevented, whereas unintentional seems to capture more of what you're saying. And I love the way you talk about, you know, we have decades of fertility, and you know, things don't work out as planned. And I love your focus on how hurtful it could be. Oh, and one other thing, I don't find it hurtful in any way when somebody says something like, you know, it's fine for you to have an abortion, and I support pro-choice, but it wouldn't be for me. In fact, I find that very supportive. I find it very open because, but again, you know, so much of this is connotation and understanding, and your approach of that everybody has a story is just critical. If only we could understand people's stories.
Thank you for those questions. Wow, those are amazing. So I have had discussions with people who say and challenge me on the idea that it's hurtful or causes or reinforces stigma when people express that they're against abortion. And I think the reason that that bothers me so much is I could be wrong here, but I sense that 99.9% of those people have never faced a pregnancy that was, as you say, unintended or accidental. I find that, it's so easy when you haven't experienced something to have an opinion about it. So I guess my foundational thought is, like, if you haven't experienced it, have some humility, and, and just, you don't have to express it, if you want to help fight stigma. So that's the underlying thing. Of course, everybody's entitled to their feelings. Even people who have had an abortion or more can still be against it. And I do understand all that. But I think, again, I always come back to focusing on what will help reduce stigma out in the world. And so I do believe that part of that is, not shaming abortion as something that we should like or dislike. It's a human right, and people need it. And to your question about accidental, so I hear your perspective that it implies like you weren't careful. I also look at it as like accidents happen to people all the time. And so one of the memes, and I don't have it shared in this program, is like, what if other accidents were treated like accidental pregnancies? And so I show a scene in a hospital room where, the doctors are standing around and they're talking like, whoa, we've seen this person before. Didn't they learn their lesson? I can't help care for this person. They've done this already. And this, somebody having a heart attack. And then there's another one with a fire. The firemen and the firefighters, the firewomen, are standing and they're looking at a house on fire. Now, we all know people try to prevent fires, right? But anyway, this image shows the firefighters discussing and looking and just being disgusted and saying things like, well, the first time they didn't change the batteries in their smoke alarm. This time they left their fireplace on, or so I can't remember what exactly it says. And it was like, we can't in good conscience help them. Let it burn. And they're going to burn in hell too. Anyway, it's hard to describe it, but it's images. So again, I think I use accidental because we all are human and we all have accidents. And I think when people have accidents, they are worthy of understanding, forgiveness, and help. But I do see your point, and I'm going to think about that a lot more. And I think some of it is also just wanting to mix up the language and see what it will lead to, pushing the envelope to have different ways of phrasing things.
Thank you. Make
Yeah.
good points. Excellent.
Karen, I want to add that someone in the chat shared, there's also the option of saying mistimed pregnancies, right?
Yes.
And for so many people, it's not necessarily, wanting to end a pregnancy because they don't want to have a child, but at that time, it is not the right time, right? That's
Yeah.
the case. That's the case for many people. And for some people, it's never going to be the right time to stay pregnant, right? So that's another offering. And someone, also shared in the chat that accidental also implies that there's no fault or bad intent when it comes to pregnancy. And I just want to share another comment. Someone shared, your insights have really helped me look at abortion in a different way. And I thought I was compassionate, but I realized my words may not have always conveyed the compassion I want to feel.
Oh.
Just wanted to lift that up. And I'm curious if there are other folks who have questions or comments for Karen. And you can just feel free to unmute and go for it.
I have a question. Karen, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on something I've been thinking about a lot during this presentation, which is that a lot of people in like abortion spaces say, well, nobody wants to have an abortion, or like a needed abortion is different than a wanted abortion. And I actually think a wanted abortion is the same as a needed abortion. Like wanting an abortion means that you need one. But I would love to hear more about like what your thoughts are on that, since you're the expert.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't consider myself an expert. I'm just learning, like just what Kate said a second ago, someone sharing about mistimed. I love that. I'm going to start using that. Like, that's what I love about this group and being with people of like mind. But no, I agree. I think it's also hurtful to use the language nobody wants an abortion. And I think if we look at it compared to other kinds of healthcare, we can see how it's not used that way in any other healthcare. So, we don't go around saying heart surgeries are bad. We need to reduce heart surgeries. We care about that. We don't really want more heart surgeries. And yes, we do want to reduce heart surgeries, but we don't shame them and put them in a category like that's the problem. The heart surgeries are the problem. Whereas abortion is healthcare. It's a healthcare procedure and process, and it's categorized as a problem. And so, do we want to have heart surgery? Well, if our heart is going to fail us, we sure do. We want it. And everybody wants to have access to it. So I feel it's the same for abortions. And I agree with you. I love that the young advocates are using language like, I am pro-abortion. I know it sounds off to people of our generation, but it's really important to say, yes, we want, abortion is good. I guess the bottom line is, what can we do to help people understand that abortion is a mercy and not a tragedy, whereas unwanted pregnancies, going through the risks of childbirth, going through raising a child that you can't have or afford, that's the tragedy. So I don't know, ideally, I dream of a day when nothing in our reproductive lives is considered a problem. It's just that these are human situations that need managing, And so, yes, I'm with you. I think all the language that pushes pro-abortion, and we need to stop saying it needs to be rare, abortion needs to be rare, or I understand the sentiment behind that, but in terms of fighting stigma, it's not helpful to keep saying nobody wants an abortion, or it's a hard decision. Like, for some people, it is so not a hard decision. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I hope I answered. If I didn't, ask again.
No, definitely. Thank you so much.
I was going to say that I haven't ever had an abortion, but there was one time when I wanted an abortion, and it was between the time when I thought I was going to have my period and the time that I actually got it, which was quite a lot later than I had thought it would be. And I knew I had 4 children already. I knew I couldn't care for another one well, and I wouldn't be able to care for the 4 well. So I wanted an abortion. And as it turned out, I didn't need one, but it was a long 2 weeks, I can tell you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Judy. That is so true. A lot of people have pregnancy scares, and then it becomes a reality. And I wish that people could hang on to that fear and carry it with them and allow them to have more compassion for people. And one thing I do like to promote on the social media is, have you ever had a pregnancy scare, but then had the relief of getting your period? Pay that good fortune forward and donate to an abortion fund.
Yeah.
Has anybody on this call had more than one abortion, or is it just me? Oh, somebody. Oh, yay.
Right. We're seeing folks wave hands who are comfortable sharing that. And so thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I want to take another question from Sarah. I think your hand is up.
Yes, it is. It is. Thank you so much. This is such a great presentation. And I am just like now thinking of all the ways I'm going to try and make abortions plural when I talk about it. I just want to revisit something just because it's been, Susan brought it up, and I'm just curious how others are thinking about it these days. So I am realizing that I have a lot of negative stigma about people of faith. And in trying to learn how to have better conversations about abortion, I bump up against this. So an intriguing statistic, probably a lot of us know, is that about 55%, Pew says, of Roman Catholics are supportive of abortion, even though within their faith, they don't see it as the right thing to do. So that's a case where they are saying, it would not be my choice. It is not my faith, but I respect that you see that differently, and the law should reflect that. And I'm wondering how you think we might, without reinforcing that, don't say it's bad, how we might have those productive conversations in faith communities too, because I want to keep those going. I want to
Yes.
get those conversations going.
Yes, I agree. And I've given a lot of thought to, the faith communities, because the stigma I felt was largely religious in the South. And I do understand, I had a very good friend who was religious, and yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard because people's faith and beliefs are, they're more emotional than factual, and arguments don't necessarily touch people's spirituality. And so it's really complicated. And I think what I end up doing, well, one thing is the 2+ Abortions website does have a section called For People of Faith. And I've collected stories, and I've been able to find from people who've had abortions who are faithful people in different religions. So that is a popular page on the website. I think that the way I approach it is I try to just keep focusing on the people who are hurt by those faith beliefs. And I try to just focus what I'm doing on them. What do they need? And other people are more skilled at debates and having those conversations. I'm not as good at that, but I feel like if I can always return the conversation to people who've experienced abortion care, and they experience it as a mercy and as warranted by their faith, and then I think that helps. But it's really complicated, and I'm excited to just continue brainstorming about that. One thing I do tell people of faith is I ask them to think critically about the big historic picture of religion. And this won't resonate with everyone, so bear with me. When I look at the big human picture of religion, I see most of it created by men, the holy books written by men. Women were not invited to write the Bible, and that is not to throw out the historic perspective of religion and all the teachings. And it's only to say that the wisdom of women is missing. And I just try to get people to consider that, just think about that. The religions were created and the holy books were written by people who don't have periods, they don't have pregnancies, they don't have miscarriages, they don't have births, they don't have abortions, they don't experience any of those things, yet they have been making the rules about it. And that's not that's like a summary, that's how I think about it. And and I once had a man say to me, I think God puts babies in women for a reason. And I said, I think God put brains in women for a reason. And I tried to explain, that the risks of pregnancy, the risks of birth, the risks of parenting are monumental responsibilities and risks. And a loving God wants those to take place when people are ready and willing. So I don't know if that helps.
Karen, I love you. I love also that You are so humble, but you just said something so wise and then said, I don't know. You do know. So we're getting close to the hour, and I want to say, Karen, that I hope you are able to look at the chat because it is full of love and appreciation for what you've shared with us. I just thank you so much for helping us to think about the effects that these actions and words we maybe don't reflect on very much, what effects they can have on people, and making more careful choices in our actions and language can, like, exponentially grow the compassion and welcome that people feel. And I love that focus on how do people feel who are experiencing abortions. And if we center that, it just becomes so simple to move more gently, right? And so deep appreciation for you. And I don't think I'm alone in that at all. And I want to close by just putting a couple things in the chat. One is a survey that we are asking GERS to participate in with us, to give us feedback about the work we're doing so we can keep doing it better. So that's in the chat, and I encourage folks to just click on it and then spend a couple minutes after this presentation filling that out. And I also want to extend an invitation to a webinar on June 9th from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. That link is in the chat, and that is about medication abortion. It will be presented by Julie Jenkins and Faith Woodson, who are nurse practitioners, who are going to share with us about all the different ways that people have medication abortions, and whether that's in the clinic or at home. And really excited for all of us to learn more about that type of abortion. And so please join us for those. And just really, if people want to unmute, we can all just send Karen off by thanking her with our voices. Really, really grateful for you. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you,
all of
Karen.
you. I love all of you. And I'm so humbled, and like, this has just been the happiest day. And I just thank you, and keep taking good care. And I'll look forward to the next meeting, because I'm a grandmother, so I'm part of this.
Yeah,
Thank you, Karen.
Ger.
Thank
Thank
Ger,
you,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you, Karen.
Bye, y'all. And yes, Denise, I'll be able to share the recording with you.